nourishing our souls. Today, we are going to continue our study of this blessed book that is a constant reminder that we can have faith because we believe that life goes on, not because it's a dogma produced by others, but because we literally know. And our professor from the Beyond, Andre Lewis, has done all of the research and reporting of actual cases from the Beyond that are living proof that life goes on. So, dear friends, we can now truly practice faith since this is a fact for us that life goes on. What a beautiful blessing. As we said last week, with or without coronavirus, life goes on. And in this book, we are extremely fortunate because we see the loving intervention of the spirit mentors every step of the way. We see the power of prayer in our previous chapter. We saw that every time our characters, Evelina and Ernesto, went through afflictions, they remembered to pray. And in praying, they soothed not only their hearts, but the hearts of everyone around them. And they immediately received support from the higher realms. So we see that divine providence does not fail, that the coronavirus cannot stop divine providence from acting on our behalf. And divine providence is so beautiful that it has allowed Ernesto and Evelina to be the mentors, the guardian angels, watching over their entire family group and even plan beautiful reincarnations, beautiful new opportunities. So let us, dear friends, feel grateful for the fact that we are reincarnated under the watch and care of the many spirits who love us. Even if we don't remember them in this reincarnation exactly at the present time, they are there for us, holding our hands and shining their light upon us in the name of the Christ. And speaking of light, of course, we have here our beloved sunshine, always shining from coast to coast, right, sunshine? Welcome, dear friend.
Hello, Carol. Nice to have you here. Thank
Nice
you
to be
for
here.
thank you to Cardiac Radio, right? Nourishing our souls always.
Right. Would you like to get us started, sunshine, by shining through a beautiful opening prayer, please?
Yes, let us pray.
Sunshine.
Thank you, Carol. I invite everyone to please close their eyes if you can, and let us open our hearts and minds, turning the mirror of our souls towards God, divine providence, and allow our mirrors to mirror back into our being the divine light, divine love, divine consciousness and intelligence. And it is with immense gratitude that we are gathering this morning, opening ourselves to new teachings coming straight from God via illuminated spirits and dedicated mediums. Thank you for that. And it is furthermore with immense gratitude for modern technology and cardiac radio that we have this opportunity to spread the good news, to learn about the good news 24/7 worldwide. Thank you, God, for giving us this divine tool. And allow ourselves to look around in our lives and see the many gifts that God has given us. the gift of our physical bodies, the gift of our shelter, the gift of our minds, the gift of our health, the gift even of the coronavirus. Please, God, allow us to see all the gifts we are receiving, even in this time that may be a challenge for some. Let us always look towards the positive. Let us always count our blessings. And let us always be grateful. Thank you, dear God. And with this, we ask for permission to start our study to this morning. And so be it.
So be it. Thank you, sunshine. We
Thank you,
feel God's
God.
love, and God's love always feels good. So
Yes.
now, dear friends, we are going to start our reading and studying, commenting, and learning of chapter 22 of this beautiful book entitled Basis for a New Future, excuse me. And this is a blessing because this is exactly what the coronavirus is allowing us all worldwide to do, to remodel the temple of our hearts and revisit our vibrational emissions so that as co-creators we heal from the inside and allow the earth to heal multidimensionally as well. So thanks to the coronavirus, we too are creating the basis for a very beautiful new future in synchronicity with our dear professor from the beyond, Andrea Lewis. So it is not by chance, dear friends, that we are studying exactly this chapter right now, because this is precisely what God is allowing humanity as a whole to do, to create the basis for a new future. Beautiful, right?
Yes.
God is great and we love God. Hello, Ahmed. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Yes, God
Welcome.
is everything, Ahmed. You are right.
Yes.
Okay, so let us go to the precise page where the chapter begins. Basis for a new future, chapter 22, starting on page 183, should you want to follow along with us. So Andrea Lewis reports. The next day, they had a conference with Rebus. Ernesto and Evelina gave him a succinct report on their visit the day before, as he listened attentively. Not wanting to waste any time, the wise instructor took some folders from a nearby cabinet and began the most important part of the interview, analyzing Tullio Mancini's situation. He believed that the young man had in fact displayed very little progress. However, this did not invalidate Mrs. Serpa's commitment. She should continue to help him while his rebirth was being organized. Establishing basis for a new future, Rebus had drawn up an immediate and clearly defined plan of action for Ernesto and Evelina, in which they should apply their best efforts. Evelina alone would stay at Mancini's side, continuing as much as possible to supervise his mental renewal, whereas Ernesto would travel daily to the physical realm in order to collaborate within the limits of his capacities on behalf of Desiderio and Elisa, who were in need of urgent fraternal help. Rebus had contacted several service directors in the higher realm and had been given enough authority to work on solving problems involving the reincarnations that would be needed to reharmonize the whole group. Shall we pause here for a moment here, dear sunshine? Yes.
Yes, we
So,
should.
in this beautiful beginning, dear friends, we see that the basis for a new future does not happen randomly, that God, in His divine and wise, loving heart, allows for our lives to be meticulously planned so that we make use of time, the divine talisman, according to Christ Himself, very wisely, so that we maximize, optimize our opportunities for spiritual growth, and so that our very own existence also serves as a catalyst for the reharmonization of our entire family group. And we see that in the spiritual realm, there is moral authority, that nobody does things at random, like toddlers saying, I'm going to do this because I just want to do this. I can do this on my own. I know what I'm doing. No, everyone there teamworks with the divine master, and everyone shows abidance to the law of justice, love, and charity, respecting people's rights, spirits' rights to co create their lives, but also limiting their actions according to what is best for them spiritually. So we see that even in a situation like now, the coronavirus context, we are still supervised by mentors from above. The mentors from above are meticulously designing plans of action for each and every one of us. Evelina, Ernesto, Tulio, all the spirits whom André Lewis refers to are quote unquote ordinary people. They are not politicians, they are not people of social projection, they are not millionaires, they are not those who we believe on earth to be of higher ranking. They are just like you and I, and like sunshine as well. And for God, they are like treasures. So, first therapeutic question for us, dear friends: how much do you believe that you are a treasure for God and by God? Do you feel like a value treasured by God? Scale 0 to 10. 0. Oh no, Carol, I'm too small for God to care for me. I don't know. Sorry, Carol, not there yet. Or 10. Yes, I am absolutely certain God loves me and God is watching for me and God is allowing my light to shine. So let us meditate, dear friends, by invitation of Professor Andrea Lewis as well, upon the fact that God has created us and thus we are divine, and as a result of His divine parenthood, we are never abandoned, we are always cared for. Right, sunshine?
Carol, you put it so beautifully, and it's so important that we remember that we're never alone, particularly at this time, because we
Mm-hmm.
might be alone in our homes. We might be, even if we're together with our families, we might feel alone or wondering what's going on. But here we're seeing that we are never alone. We're always surrounded, of course, with divine providence, but we also have the spirits surrounding us, and we know that there's several categories. Even there's the familiar spirits, the
Mhm.
family spirits who are looking out for us, and there is our protector spirits, our own mentors, and the sympathetic spirits. So we're swimming in a pool of support, and this book really shows us the extent of it, and it's beautiful and so much to be grateful for, isn't it? There is
Exactly.
there's one more thing I wanted to that stuck out for me, and that was the
Please,
sentence.
sunshine.
Yeah, there was the paragraph before where we're learning that Ernesto is working within the limits of his capabilities,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which I kind of thought
Right.
is important because yeah, so we can. It's actually Thought in Life that helps us understand this sentence because their Professor Emmanuel teaches us in chapter one of Thought in Life. He says, and I'm quoting: "No one can transcend the resources of their own mind beyond the level of progress they
Mhm.
have attained by mere improvisation." So, in other words, we are always where we are with our minds. We cannot fake it. We are just where we are. We work on our inner transformation. We have many, many lifetimes, and we expand. Our concepts become much wider and bigger, and we become wiser. But we cannot transcend our. So, how should we say? We can't transcend our capabilities. We are at a certain stage, and we need to embrace that and be grateful for where we are. This
Yes.
morning, during my morning prayer and morning
Mhm.
walk, I was
Mhm.
also reminiscing a little bit about my life. And so there's moments when I felt a little remorse. And my beautiful mentor Carl came in and he said, "Sweetheart, you don't
Oh.
know any better." I was actually crying. He said, "You did your
Oh.
very best." And it reminded me of this section, right? I did my best
Exactly.
within the limits of my capabilities at the time. And he kind of caressed me and he said, "And now you know better, and you will have an opportunity to practice
Oh.
what you know now." And
So
how beautiful,
beautiful,
isn't it?
sunshine. Thank you for
And
sharing
and that's
that.
good to know for all of us because there is no need for us to ever beat ourselves up. We did our best.
Exactly.
And we keep
Exactly.
evolving and then we do better, right?
Exactly, sunshine. Beautiful
Yeah.
message of hope.
Yeah.
So grateful that you shared your encounter with your mentor. That's really beautiful. And
Yeah.
you know, if we who are listening and watching are ever wondering, we all have spirit mentors in the spirit's book, excuse me. Kardec beautifully tells us through the illuminated minds that guide the earth progress under the Christ that we all have the most beautiful, intimate relationship with our guardian angels or mentors, that they love us so deeply that they are never bothered that we cry or that we question ourselves, our choices, or that we are absolutely honest and pour our hearts out to them as you did, Sunshine. They are actually grateful when we cultivate this beautiful one on one, spirit to spirit, heart to heart relationship with them.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
you, Sunshine, for
Yeah.
reminding us that this is within all of our reaches,
Right.
right? Yes.
Yes. Yes. Thank you,
Thank
Carol.
you, Sunshine. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So, shall we continue?
Yes. Let us
Yes.
continue.
Let us continue. So then Andre Lewis tells us here. But when Evelina heard his instructions, she said sadly, "So I won't have permission to visit my father for the time being? You know how much I miss him."
Yes, I do, but Desiderio's present situation doesn't warrant being hasty. In order to help him safely, we must examine beforehand every step we take.
Exactly. Even mine? says Evelina. Even mine?
Cute, no? Yes, even your actions as his daughter must be taken into account. That rebellious yet noble soul who served as your father possesses admirable qualities that will surface at the right time. We mustn't waste this opportunity to be patient. Let us
What?
pause, shall we?
Yes, we shall. Please, sunshine, guide us.
Yes, yeah. So what he's saying is be patient is such an important message, isn't it? And
Yes.
particularly today. Today it is one of the most important assets or what is the word? Virtues for us to
Yes.
be conscious of and to be actively working on. Jesus, of course, as our guide and model, was the model of patience. And he taught us in one of his Beatitudes, he said, "Blessed are the meek and peace loving." And we find the explanation to that and patience in chapter 9 of the Gospel according to Spiritism, which would be a beautiful chapter to read as an accompaniment of what we're studying today
Mhm.
and for our current challenge that we're experiencing, because patience is extremely important for us to go through life in a meek way, because patience is an aspect of meekness.
Mhm.
Um, it involves humility and it involves for us, it means to be Christian, to be Christ like, if we
Mhm.
can extend that to other people. And it's a form of charity. Because when we're patient with ourselves, starting with ourselves, but also particularly with other people, we're practicing a form of charity. And that is important for us to remember. And if we also remember that this too shall pass, it will help us further to ride the waves of life. And right now, we're kind of in a big wave, but we know it will change. And as we're practicing patience, we will make it through. Um, it's Divaldo Franco who gave voice to Joanna de Angelis in Happy
Yes.
Life, and he has a
Mhm.
little page on patience, which is beautiful. And I want to quote from that because it's just touching. He says, "Patience is the passport to all who wish to evolve on the way to progress." Isn't it
Wow,
beautiful?
that is
And
so beautiful.
patience is the passport to all who wish to evolve on the way to progress. So hopefully we could do a little therapeutic question to see where we're at
Yes.
in practicing patience on a scale of 0 to 10.
Mhm.
And it never hurts to boost the muscle of patience. And we have the most beautiful opportunity right now, right? God is
Yes,
giving
thanks to
us,
the coronavirus.
yes,
Beautiful
giving us a
context for us to
right now.
practice patience. Yes, sunshine.
Yes,
Right.
yeah.
It's in patience comes the very word comes from peace,
Mhm.
pacification. The word patience has the same root as the word pacification, and to pacify is to have peace from within. So if we need to find peace from within, the coronavirus is our best teacher because we are being invited to slow down our pace and revisit our priorities and stay not only home physically but stay home spiritually. Go within ourselves and revisit our immortal priorities. So, if we need to boost our patience, our ability to pacify, we can start by affirming to ourselves, right, sunshine? Because thought is life. We can start by affirming to ourselves, I am patient. I am patient. Patience is my immortal quality. I am developing patience. I will be more patient each day. So let us give ourselves patience vitamins by affirming our divine quality, because as we affirm it is as if we tell the universe, I accept it as my own. So let us do this exercise of affirming to ourselves that as immortal spirits we are patient because we recognize and accept our divine nature. Right, Sunshine?
Exactly, Carol. Beautiful.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
We're taking
Thank
the
you for
vitamins
reminding
of
us.
patience. Yes.
Yes, vitamins of patience. Everyone,
Yes.
let's go. One, two, three. Swallow. We can take it every
Exactly.
day and it doesn't cost anything. The
Anything. That's
beauty of it, right?
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. So let us continue here. We are now on page 184. And Evelina says, what do you mean, be patient?
He should meet you again in a moment of better understanding. Fantini will assist him every day with edifying words, a task similar to the one you will perform with Mancini, as you endeavor to awaken him to the joys of higher spirituality. This is how both of you will learn to find your mutual affection and respect again. It,
And after a friendly smile,
isn't that what has been happening between you and Tullio?
Evelina understood and agreed.
However, this won't keep you from intervening in events when circumstances demand it. You can and should see your father again, but we think that your final influence as his daughter must be used on his behalf.
Evelina fell silent, but Facini cut in.
Instructor, if I may, I'd like to know if your trustful messenger inspected the situation of our friends in Guarujá. Yes, but they weren't there. They're in Sao Paulo. At the Villa Mariana house? Caio and Vera where? And Elisa? Exactly 6 days ago, she was admitted for treatment at a mental health clinic. My gosh, how things change. Influenced by Caio Serpa, Vera assumed responsibility and Elisa couldn't oppose it. However, the latest news points out how serious Elisa's prognosis is. I must tell you that the patient has gotten much worse regarding the obsession inflicted on her. Due to the precarious condition of her circulatory system, she was struck by a progressive cerebral thrombosis, which means that death is near. All of this happened immediately after a terrible shock. What shock?
Interrupted Fantini, astonished. Unperturbed, the instructor replied.
We found out that over the past few weeks, Serpa had been pressing Vera to take away her mother's rights to manage her own affairs. He's a lawyer with many connections, and he used his influence. He convinced his future mother-in-law to go to the hospital for treatment, assuring her it would be no more than 2 or 3 days. But as soon as she went in, he obtained the appropriate documentation to further his purposes and presented them to the pertinent authorities as coming from the young woman he proposed to marry. Of course, the shock to Elisa was exceedingly painful at finding out at the hospital that she no longer managed her financial resources. Such was the case because despite her obsession, she is perfectly lucid. To us, she is an individual experiencing a tormented mediumship involving psychic phenomena still not understood by those around her. Excuse me. To Serpa and Vera, it's a case of early senility.
So now Caio Ernesto's wavering words stuck in his throat. Rebus concluded.
Now, Kayo is acting as trustee for the patient and her daughter with legal powers to manage all their assets.
Evelina and Ernesto were stunned.
In light of the facts and realizing that we must be as understanding as possible, I must advise you, Fancini, that your plots in Santos were sold the day before yesterday according to Serpa's instructions, and that he made a profit of a few million cruceros as the broker. I don't say this in judgment of the unfortunate behavior of someone else, but because we must plan the future with a duty to look at all the details, even the most undesirable. What a shyster!
Accused Ernesto.
Good God, Caio, acting once more like a criminal?
Looking at him with fraternal benevolence, Rebus warned him.
Let's avoid being cruel, and let's avoid any type of vehemence. It's essential that we envelop Serpa and Vera in waves of our deepest sympathy. Why?
Shouted Fatini, disconsolate.
You mustn't forget that the two of them are providential in this family group. If you provide Caio with the loving support he needs, he will marry Vera and will be Mancini's father in his new incarnation. Of course, if he collaborates, he will be redeeming his debt. Because he took Tullio's life, he must restore it according to the principles of cause and effect. In addition, however, he will bring peace to Evelina by taking responsibility for re educating a spirit whose emotional misbehavior has caused her so many problems. Shall we pause?
Yes, we shall, sunshine.
So we see that Ernesto is rather passionate, right? He's using even a curse word. He's really agitated because he sees him as a criminal. And Rebus, in his wisdom, calms him down and shows to us how a Christ conscious person would respond rather than react. Ernesto was rather reactive. There was an
Mhm.
action, and he just passionately reacted, which reminds us that we hopefully are working on our own inner adult, so to speak. Our prefrontal cortex, as we know, has the pause button where we can take time out, time off. We can look at every situation, everything that comes into our space with discernment to pause, look at it, use our mind, and then respond rather than
Mhm.
just jump to a conclusion, a judgment. Because often when we react, it is judgmental. And as we think we emit, we attract it back to us, right? So it's really when we're just merely reactive from a passionate point of view, we ultimately not only damage the person or the situation that is causing our reaction, so to speak, but it hits us most and foremost.
Mhm.
It's the law. As we give, we receive. And that is something that we're invited to work on during our many incarnations. We know that passions are really good if we know how to channel them and bridle them, so to speak, towards the good. Then they can be really beneficial. But
Mhm.
if we let them run wild, as the good spirits, the spirits on high in the spirits book teach us, and run like a wild horse, we can imagine wild horses create a lot of damage. And so it is our work to emanate Jesus more and more as we're learning to pause and use the light of discernment in our responses rather than reactions. Right, Carol?
Right, sunshine. And since you said beautifully now to emulate our master, to imitate our master, we may be wondering, this is so fantastic, but how can we go about imitating our master? If we are wondering this, thinking about this very question, this is a very valid question.
Yes.
And thank God, through Spiritism and Chico Xavier's blessed mediumship, we have the book Jesus in the Home, where we see 50 beautiful accounts of Jesus's interaction with his apostles, and we can study Jesus's reactions, not reactions, allow me to correct myself, Jesus's responses, and we can study Jesus's body language. We see time and again the spirit mentor Neo Lucio reporting Jesus's emotional body language and telling us that every time the apostles were like, Master, Master, but Master, this happened, but Master, I have a problem, but Master, we don't know what to do, but Master, ah, Jesus would be quiet. Exact, practice constructive silence, allowing himself to organize his thinking, his feelings, manage his own response, study the needs of the other, and then respond. Time and again, Neo Lucius says, Jesus was silent. Jesus smiled serenely. Jesus waited for the apostles to finish speaking. Jesus stared at the stars. Jesus was quiet. Time and again, if we do a study of Jesus's emotional body language, we will learn with him, who is our best teacher, to respond rather than react. So let us take our teacher's lesson to heart and literally study how he responds. Shall we, dear friends?
Yes. Yes.
Our friend Vanessa Anceloni, who is the founder of Kardec Radio and a beautiful psychologist and neuroscientist, already did a statistical study of Jesus's emotional body language. And in her study of the book Jesus in the Home, which is available right here in this platform, she mentions to us Jesus's body language in detail. So if you would like, dear friend, to boost your own ability to respond rather than to react, one other tool that is available for us is the study of Jesus in the Home, done on Kardec Radio's Facebook and YouTube by our dear, dear, dear Dr. Vanessa Anceloni. Right, Sunshine?
Beautiful. It was really a very wonderful study. Very
Yes,
brings Jesus right into our hearts, and that's
yes,
then how we can emulate and copy him
yes.
more and better, right?
So let us
Yeah.
shower ourselves with Jesus' light, right? Because
Yes.
after all, He is our guide and model, right, Sunshine?
Exactly. Thank you,
Yes,
Carol.
thank
And there,
you.
yes, and there is one more that he says, and that is the law of cause, the principles. He must be stored according to the principles of law and cause and effect.
Mhm,
Now, the laws of cause and effect, which are, of course, God's law,
mhm,
also helps us actually with our discernment, because once we really truly understand how the mechanism of the law of cause and effect works, which is really brilliant if we really understand it, then it also helps us to be more responsive and not reactive, because we won't jump to conclusions really fast. We will realize that divine providence, we are completely surrounded, we are enveloped by God's love. And the law of cause and effect is just one more aspect of God's love, really, because we will just experience the seeds or harvest the seeds that we planted at some point in our lives. So the
mhm,
so-called punishment or suffering that we know there is no punishment really. It's just the effect of what we created for our own selves. The law of cause and effect is kind of like a warning system. And actually, we read that in Memoirs of a Suicide. It's on page 283 for whoever is interested.
Thank you,
Because,
Sunshine. That's
yes,
great that
because
you gave us
that's
the page number. Thank you.
yeah, because I keep going back to that because it is so beautifully explained how the mechanism works. He actually, there we learn that God implemented the law of cause and effect for the purpose of warning us when we, as a warning sign, that we deviate from God's laws. So the minute we deviate from that road, it clicks in. And then further on, he said it's just the suffering that we experience in our lives, and it doesn't matter what it is. It may be right now during this kind of coronavirus situation, or it might be totally unrelated. We'll always be having the cause in our own lives previously, starting with our thinking. So that is something actually, from my perspective, very comforting because then it's something I can change, we can change, right? So we're not
Yes.
at the mercy of ever anyone else. We all we need to do is study Jesus in the home, for example, and learn of how to become more Jesus-like, and at the same time to refrain from judging others because we know that they are working on their own harvest right now, and that's not always
Exactly.
easy. And so that allows us to be more charitable in our thinking, in our responding, and in our actions, right, Carol?
Right, Sunshine. Thank you for shedding so much light onto all of us. Thank you, immortal light shining on. Thank you so much.
Thank
Shall
you,
we
Carol.
continue?
Yes, for sure.
Yes. Okay.
I can understand all that, but
Ernesto was about to present an unfavorable argument, but Rebus cut him short.
I know what you're thinking, Fancini. Still so very attached to the family the Lord lent you on earth, you realize that Serpa has begun to take possession of what used to be your considerable fortune. Don't have any illusions. Just as he sold your plots in Santos, he will probably dispose of everything else that you still consider yours, such as your rentals in Sao Paulo, your house in Guarujá, your stocks and bonds, your jewelry, your bank accounts, and even your property in Villa Mariana. Face the facts, my friend. At your discarnation, all your property in the physical realm passed to the domain and control of other hands. Life asks back what it has lent us, giving us in return, wherever it may be, what we made of it in the company of others. All the transactions we mentioned will certainly occur as soon as Caio makes your daughter his legal wife. Meanwhile, let's refrain from calling him a criminal and a thief. He is just as we are, a child of God, borrowing against the future. Today, he is borrowing the assets you left your wife and daughter, the fruit of a very industrious life. He thinks he's being very smart and clever, but the only person he's fooling is himself.
Mamma mia.
Yes. Mamma mia. There's one more sentence maybe we would like to add that Rebus is
Yes.
saying.
Yes. So
Belie-
then
Mhm.
go ahead, please.
Believing he's taking control over large assets, Caio is actually only assuming a larger debt before the divine laws. So let us pause and
Mamma
understand.
mia again.
Yes, because this is really eye-opening, and it's something that we may have never thought about, right? First of all, Reba is so lovingly reminding us that our family of blood is beautiful, but there is more in our lives. And Jesus on the cross essentially modeled to us that our cosmic family, our spiritual family, um, is equally important. And that is when he said to his mother Mary, Mary, here is John, your son. And to John, he said, John, here is your mother Mary. And that is something that we always want to be reminded of, that we open our lens, so to speak, and we really realizing and embracing that we're all brothers and sisters under one God. And once we've really, really brought that home into our hearts, our disagreements will become less and our love will blossom and bloom. So that is beautiful that he's reminding us of that. And then, of course, he continues to show us that actually everything we have in our lives, everything is a gift from God. It's a loan. It's, so to speak, a letter of credit from God. And Emmanuel underlines that and clarifies that even further in his book Thought and Life. And it is in chapter of assistance where he tells us that um, no, it's in the chapter of vocation where he teaches us that a vocation, our jobs, um, our bodies, our families, everything we have in our lives is just simply a letter of credit and it's based on God's concession. So once we really realize that and remember that in every moment of our lives, it humbles us. It can't other, right? And it will boost our gratitude, which is so important, particularly right now, where we might find ourselves only looking at what we're lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And this is really the invitation right here from Professor Rebus, so to speak, for us to remember that we have so much. And to maybe we want to wake up or today or this week, use a piece of paper and write down all the things we have, all the gifts that have been given to us by God as a concession to us. And once we've seen our gifts, the next question is, what are we doing with them? One thing is to recognize them and be really grateful and turning our lens towards what we have rather than what we're lacking. But the
Right.
second thing that is equally important, and again, Emmanuel reminds us in Thought and Life in the chapter of assistance, all the gifts that have been loaned to us by God, we are asked to share. It is actually our duty to share them with others. Because one example Emmanuel uses so beautifully is, for example, a river. As the river comes from its spring, it just babbles along, it goes and it's clean and clear. The minute we stop it up and we create a little lake, the lake is much more prone to becoming fetid, dirty, and
Mm-mm.
dangerous because there's not enough movement anymore. So consequently, he reminds us all the gifts that have been loaned to us by God need to be passed on for us to stay healthy and to do the good, to be charitable. And we're always invited to do the good, do the good, do the good, do the good. And that means sharing of our gifts. And here with Rebus, he is showing to us how important it is to be humble, to be grateful, and to be charitable always with what we have. Right, Carol?
Right, Sunshine. It's so important what you said because you told us, you reminded us through Professor Emmanuel that in giving of what we have, we actively participate of divine providence. And in taking active part of divine providence, we keep ourselves spiritually healthy. So you just reminded us of how we can boost our spiritual immune system. Because if we get physically sick, it is because first our spiritual body had some kind of imbalance. So if we would like to boost our holistic health, we shall first think of spiritual immunization. And Professor Emmanuel, Professor Andre Lewis, and Professor Rebus are very good at giving us prescriptions for boosting our spiritual immune system. First one, is to give of ourselves, as you reminded us, Sunshine. Second one, to recognize divine providence in our lives, as you reminded us, Sunshine, through gratitude. And third one that Professor Rebus mentioned is to see in each other the fact that we are all children of the same wise, loving, and supreme universal intelligence. So no one is less cared for than the other. We are all beloved. So let us feel how immersed we are in God's love. This will help us choose feelings and thoughts that are more charitable, as you said, Sunshine. And in this way, we will attune with the higher minds. We will emit healthy feelings and thoughts. This will boost other people's feelings and thoughts. It will help cleanse the earth, and it will keep us afloat. It will keep us healthy as well. So let us work, dear friends, all of us, Sunshine and I included, we are no exception. Let us all work on our spiritual immunization through gratitude for divine providence, through giving of ourselves. Social media right now is a great way to give of ourselves through prayer, right? Sunshine, and
Yes,
through
Carol.
believing in the good in ourselves and in others. We can, dear friends, make the conscious decision to believe in the good,
Mhm.
right? Sunshine.
Beautiful, Carol.
Yes.
Yes,
And
it's
Nora
so hopeful,
Brazil
the message,
just
right?
joined us. Thank you, Nora Brazil, for
Hi,
joining us.
Nora. Yes.
Thank
Thank
you,
you for
Eric
joining.
Pacheco, for joining us as well. Thank you, friends. If we don't
Thank
say
you.
your names directly, please feel embraced and loved as a
Yes.
beautiful child of God.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
sunshine.
Yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Carol.
So shall we continue?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. Um,
So Professor Rebus was speaking on page 187, right,
yes.
sunshine?
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Okay. By taking possession of Elisa and Vera's material resources. So, essentially, he's now explaining how actually it all works out in the end. So, how the
Mm-hmm.
assets will be distributed. So, believing
Yeah.
he's taking control over large assets, Kaio is actually only assuming a larger debt before the divine laws. By taking possession of Elisa and Vera's material resources, Kaio will instinctively experience the hunger to become richer and richer. He will fall in love with money and soon will feel satiated. Instead of taking advantage of the joys of a simple life, he will be far from true happiness, enslaved for a long time to his ambition of gaining and gaining, accumulating and accumulating. And in the end, all this will revert to benefit. Do you know who? I would love to know.
Said a discouraged Ernesto.
Your family, my friend, especially Elisa, whom Caio is presently pushing towards premature discarnation with his insensitive actions and his eagerness to control her financial assets on an illusory scheme of impunity. Please explain.
Asked Ernesto anxiously. Rebus took out a small chart from a pile of sheets he had been examining, and pointing out some annotations here and there, he began explaining.
So this is going to be really interesting. Yeah, for
Yes,
everyone. Yeah.
yes,
And he's,
buckle up, everybody.
yeah.
This is a great ride, right, Sunshine? Yes.
Yeah, because it's good to also for us to remember, if we become squirrely and we start wanting more and accumulating, right? Playing squirrel, what happens with all of our little piles, right?
Bright sunshine.
Elisa's discarnation is predicted within a few days, but after she safely recovers in our colony, her rebirth can occur in 5 or 6 years according to our plan. With the permission of our superiors, she will be Serpa's and Vera's daughter. If you too work at helping them with a lot of love, she will come after Mancini, their firstborn. It is clear that in around 30 years, the time considered likely for Caio's return to the spirit world, he will give back to his former mother in law, now his daughter, as well as to his widow, Vera Selina, the entire patrimony that he is taking possession of presently. He will return it greatly increased, while at the same time having worked hard to provide Tullio an enviable material situation in his new existence. Shall we
Wow,
pause?
Mamma Mia. This
Mamma
is the
mia.
big Mamma Mia. Yes, show pause, sunshine, please.
Very, very eye-opening, right? And
Yes.
also a reminder for us not to judge other people, because even if other people squirrel things away or, amass material goods, it is their law of cause and effect, right? And we never know how it in the end divine providence provides and gives back, right? This is what's so beautiful in this. It shows how it's all just so divinely organized that we can't even begin to understand. So why would we want to play judge, right? So
Mhm.
that kind of is one hat we can hang far away, never have to use again. Yeah, so divine providence. We know that what the definition is, right?
Mhm.
Divine justice, I mean, divine justice, which is what we're learning about here, how it all works out. It is respecting the rights of everyone. And as we're respecting it, we're judging less. So, how do we know that divine justice is being fulfilled in our own lives as we move forward, as we go on day by day? How do we know we're actually fulfilling divine justice?
Mhm.
Well, there is one beautiful um, proposal that
Mhm.
is the most perfect, and we can make sure that we are aligned with God's will. And that is when we desire for others what we desire for our own selves. Now, we know that Tullio didn't do that, right, on the surface. But
Mhm.
thanks to divine providence, it still works out in the end. So he was being selfish. He was pretty hungry for more and more assets. He lived a very material life and did actually not live by the maxim of desiring for others what he desired for himself. On the
Mhm.
contrary, he took away. And of course, law of cause and effect will take care of him. However, everything that happens is also seen in the greater picture of our merits, right?
Yes.
Because there's also good things that we do, but we must never despair or jump to conclusions because the picture is so much bigger, which we're learning here in this, right, Carol?
Right, sunshine. Isn't this absolutely beautiful? That
Yes.
God's GPS, so to speak, God's GPS of divine justice and mercy never misses. It never has to recalculate whatever needs to meet us, whatever we need to encounter is given to us. It's really beautiful. This reminds me of a chapter in the book, The Way, the Truth, and the Life by the Spirit Mentor Emmanuel through Chico Xavier, chapter 106, entitled Giving. In this chapter, Emmanuel explains to us that God invariably gives us what we need. God doesn't always give us what we want, not because God doesn't love us, but because we don't know how to love ourselves holistically yet. We are learning. So God takes away that which can deviate us from the divine path in the long run. But whatever we need to boost Our spiritual progress is invariably given to us with precision. So we never need to worry about whether we are going to receive this or that tool for our own sustenance or spiritual growth or even material development, as we see here, because God will permit us to have what we need. And is it just you? Is it just sunshine? Is it just me? No, it's the same universal law across the board. It goes even beyond our earthly home. So we may be wondering, where does this go where does this framework go within the coronavirus scenario? Right?
Mhm.
We may be wondering if God always gives us abundantly what we need, why do we have the coronavirus right now? If we look at the coronavirus from a material point of view solely, then we may enter a grieving process. We may start believing in everything that we lack, and we may become saddened, angry, disheartened, disillusioned, depressed, and go downhill from there. But if we learn with Professor Andre Lewis and others to wear bifocal glasses and while grounded on the earthly experience, look above us, we see for certain that we are blessed. Why? Let's count our blessings.
Yes.
We now have more time with family. Beautiful. This may be a unique moment in our incarnation like no other because now we don't have the movie theaters. We don't have the coffee shop. We don't have the malls. So our entertainment is to spend time with one another. And it's beautiful to have this blessing because we can actually look at each other in the eyes and get to know those spirits whom God addressed to us for beautiful reasons. We now have more time to stay at our home and make our home a real home, not a place where we go to rest and get ready for everything else, but a temple of light, a temple of prayer, a temple of nourishment, not only for the body, but for the soul. We can also, dear friends, learn to value those who we cannot be in physical contact right now, but we can nourish our relationship with them at the level of our emotions. We can give them emotional gifts of our presence through our loving thoughts, words, and vibrations. We are learning to work in different manners through different platforms as well. Kardec Radio, because we are in it, we know, is blooming with more and more beautiful opportunities to nourish all of our souls. Everyone is making an effort to share the good non-stop so we can see why God allowed it. God is not punishing us, but God is saying, I believe in you, earthly humanity. I want to give you a chance to step it up to the next level because I want you to get there. I believe in you and I am with you. So let us, dear friends, really thank God for God entrusting us as a human family, humanity, that we are mature enough to step it up to another level, right, Sunshine?
Absolutely, Carol. Beautifully put. And in
Yes.
summary, for today, we are invited to what you said and to change our lens. First of all, open up our lens to, as you already said, Carol, to a bifocal. Maybe we can even push it to a trifocal or
Why
quadruple
not?
focal.
Right?
And
Yeah.
even if we can't quite get there, to have that possibility that there's always yet another level and
Mhm.
layer that we are not cognizant of in the moment, but to shift our focus to a wider lens and from the lack to all the gifts we have, and with gratitude and using the gifts for the good, always sharing, always seeking the good and visualizing the good and molding the good with
Mhm.
all the resources we have. And that will keep us healthy and happy on both the physical as well as the spiritual realm. Right,
Yeah.
Carol?
Right, sunshine.
That'll
Shall
be
we
our
pray?
homework for the week.
Yes. Shall we pray in gratitude to God?
Yes,
And
please,
dear
would you do
friends,
that?
please know that next week we will be back with the second part of the same chapter, which will be amazing, a great opportunity for us to boost our spiritual immunity at the same time as we nourish our souls together, right, sunshine?
Yes,
Yes,
Carol. Thank
let
you.
us say hello to our dear friends Luke Allen who joined us. Hi, thank you, Luke
Hello,
Allen,
friends.
for joining us. Rihanna, beautiful
Hi,
Rihanna,
Rihanna.
big kiss and big hug to you and your beautiful family. God bless you. Keep on
Yes,
shining as you always do. Let us all allow our lights to shine, right, sunshine?
yes, Carol. Would you
So,
guide us into prayer?
yes, thank you,
Thank you.
sunshine. Let us now close our eyes, unite our souls, and open our hearts in infinite gratitude for the love of the universal creator who provides abundantly to every living creature in this universe. We feel his presence through the birds that sing harmoniously, through the rays of sunlight that are painted beautifully in the sky and that sustain all forms of life. We feel his presence through the ocean waves, whose harmonic melody are like a divine poem. We feel his presence through the loving gaze of Jesus Christ of the earth, watching over each and every one of us. We feel his presence through the loving devotion of our beautiful Holy Mother Mary, who mothers all humanity, caressing each and every one of us motherlessly and reminding us this too shall pass. We feel his presence through the loving spirits watching over the earth right now. We feel his presence through the cleansing and healing that the earth is undergoing. We now visualize the earth bathed in infinite loving light, and we see that rays of love from the very heart of the Christ reach all of those who are fearful, in despair, undergoing traumatic circumstances. At this time, we visualize our very own Master embracing them until they too become infinite light. And we hear the voice of our Master telling each and every one of us personally, I will forever be by your side, and I shall never forsaken you. The Master then embraces us individually with much love and provides us with a rose of peace, which we plant in the garden of our hearts. And Master Jesus then invites each and every one of us to distribute the roses of peace wherever we go with our thoughts, actions, choices, attitudes, and words, for He is counting on us for the healing love to continue to spread and for the earth to be renewed as we are renewed in His name through God's providence. And with much gratitude and filled with love in our heart, we ask God, Master Jesus, and the loving spirits watching over humanity permission to end our study session of today. And so be it.
And so be it.
Thank you,
Thank you,
dear
Carol.
friends. Thank
Thank
you,
you, everyone.
Sunshine. Thank you. Many, many beautiful blessings. And let us keep feeling the embrace of the Master.
Yes.
Right, Sunshine? We
Yes.
will see you next week, dear friends. God willing. Bye now.
Bye.